This is our final Premier League predictions. A few weeks ago, we confirmed that we'll do an early predictions, but we'll wait for a few signings, and they have happened. Are you ready, Thog Dad?
I'm not ready because this is a Farmers League, Theo, the Premier League. It's all about the First Division, Bolton Wanderers.
Oh, yeah, League One over the Premier League. Okay, whatever. Let's get on with this, and first, join my FPL League. The link is in the description. Which team are we starting with?
Oh, it's got to be Arsenal Football Club, Theo. Second last season. They got the second most valuable squad in the league, but they've not done a lot of transfer business. Who've they brought in, Theo?
Calafiori is their only player. I mean, it's the same amount as City. It's the only proper signing that they've made, but there is enough quality in that squad to potentially win the Premier League. They went to the final day and finished 2 points behind Man City. To think that that squad is only getting older, developing under Mikel Arteta, they have a chance. Am I right?
No, you're not right, Theo, because if Arsenal are going to win this title, they need a Haaland. They need a Thierry Henry equivalent.
Do you know what they need?
Go out and spend 80 to 100 million on the best striker in the world.
If Arsenal want to win the Premier League, the TDL can do it. They need 20,000 likes on this video because that shows a support, a community, a togetherness that they can come and beat the monsters of not even English football, but the world right now, which is Manchester City. So if this video gets 20k likes, I will change my prediction. But right now, I'm going to have to keep, as I did in my early predictions, Arsenal, you're going second. You're going to have a good year in the Champions League, maybe a cheeky semi-final appearance. I think Calafiori is going to fit in nicely. He won't play centre-back because, of course, Saliba and Gabriel, that's going to change. Unless you sign a striker. If Victor Gyökeres or Ivan Toney comes through the door before the end of this window, you can win the league.
Do you know what? Great team, great manager, but you're that far behind Man City, second place.
The Gyok. I like guacamole. Guacamole.
Right. Aston Villa, Theo, they were brilliant last season, fourth place, but to some extent, I think they overachieved under Unai Emery. And what worries me this season, Theo, they've got rid of Moussa Diaby and Douglas Luiz, two players I'd like to see staying.
But they've signed Amadou Onana, Samuel Illing Jr., Jadon Philogene from Hull City, and this one I'm most interested by, he just played in a Champions League final, it's Ian Maatsen. So they have replaced those players, Dan.
They have, but I can't see them doing what they did last season. They've got the complexity, the distraction of the Champions League.
They've got Ollie Watkins. He's only got better. We watched him at the Euros. He's exciting. He's brilliant. I tell you what, there's enough quality in this team to maintain a European state, but I'm not sure it's Champions League. I think it's a little bit lower. The problem for me is when Newcastle finished fourth and they had Champions League football, they went into a massive group of death, and they dropped 11 points from year after year. And that 11 points was because of Champions League, which increases injury risk, which increases the travel. And you're not as focused on the Premier League. Now, Villa, they're doing the same thing. Conference League and Champions League are very different things. Now, remember, it's a new Champions League group, which means more games and more travel. I think Aston Villa are not ready for this.
Yeah.
I think what you'll do is have a few incredible nights, Champions League nights, where you beat teams and you have exciting football. Maybe you make the playoffs of this new Champions League table, but I do think that it's going to cost you in the Premier League, and I'm going to put you in 9th place.
I think if Villa get a European place this season, Theo, that is a good result. I'm going to go 8th.
Yeah, I would love Unai Emery to prove me wrong. He's a manager that completely excites me and excels in Europe.
AFC Bournemouth now 12th last season, and with Dominic Solanke banging in the goals, Theo, he got 19 and 3 assists.
I got clipped. They got me. I said, well done, congratulations, you kept Dominic Solanke in my early predictions. And that's why we're doing a final predictions, because he's gone to Tottenham for a lot of money, don't get me wrong, and they haven't reinvested that cash yet. I'd like to see where it goes. But with the current squad, they should be talking about relegation.
Do you know what,
I'm
Theo?
very worried about Bournemouth.
This is the thing. You've sold your best player, and those 19 goals were incredible, were so important last season. They have reinvested it, Theo.
They have.
But they've
Dean
spread it
Huijsen
out
at
amongst
centre-back.
5 players.
Yeah, Dean Huijsen at centre-back. No, that was investment before Solanke was sold.
Yeah.
There's only one player that they bought for a sum of money that's anywhere near that. There's many more to come. I think the next week with the transfer window is going to be very interesting with Bournemouth. And who's going to come and score the goals? Well, people will put full focus on Antoine Semenyo, the striker who did very good last year. And I think he will excel in that striker position. But I'd like to see competition with someone else. Put some money in and keep the club up. It's a big year for Daniel Jefferson, who scored a goal in pre-season. Alex Scott at centre midfield. I can't wait to see what he has to hold.
Now, Luis Sinisterra from Leeds, speaking to my brother Stuart, who's a Leeds fan, that is a very good buy.
They had him last year, Dad. You mentioned that last time. I think they're going to survive. They'll reinvest, get a striker, and they'll finish 16th.
And I pretty much agree with you, Theo. It's going to be neck and neck right till the end. They're just going to survive 17th. Brentford now, and they had a shocker last season. 16th place, Theo, and they've got the 12th most expensive squad in the league. Now, something they've done is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
They're spending money.
They are, because I have a feeling they might be selling Ivan Toney. It could be the end of the road.
Ooh.
I looked at pre-season, no sign of Ivan Toney. It looks like they're implementing a front three with Kevin Schade down the middle, Wissa and Mbeumo around the other, the winger positions. I like that. It's attacking. The last 7 games that Brentford have played in, both teams have scored. Every single pre-season match, they've scored and conceded. Now, the new signing Igor Thiago for 30 million could be the future Ivan Toney replacement, but I just have a weird feeling they're preparing for life after IT9.
Now, Thiago is injured, I believe, until December, Theo.
Sucks, yeah.
Fabio Carvalho's come in, the Liverpool lad. Will that
Great
make
signing.
a difference?
20 million for a man that has huge ceiling. He never got the game time at Liverpool. When he left Fulham, everybody was talking about being the next big thing. I think if anybody's going to do it, it's Thomas Frank and that Brentford setup. They look at the statistics and they know this man has a big future. But actually, where does he fit in the team? Because I mentioned 3 players up the front 3. Where else does he get in? I hope they play him enough.
And I do as well, Theo. Now, I'm assuming that Ivan Toney stays. And if he does, and if he gets a full season, because last season he didn't because of the ban, I think Brentford, they should be nowhere near relegation.
No, they won't be near relegation. They've got a tactic. They've kept the core of the squad. Whether Toney goes or not, and that is an unpopular opinion, by the way, they will finish in 13th place.
Remember those words. I reckon Brentford, 12th place. Brighton and Hove Albion were 11th last season, weren't they, Theo? And we met Tony Bloom down in Germany, looked pretty confident. There's been a few ins and outs. What worries me a little bit, Pascal Gross, I know he's been there, 5 or 6 years. He was a very useful player.
Incredible, and you can see in a lot of their best goals in the previous years, especially how they started under De Zerbi last year. Free-flowing, attacking football. Pascal Gross with a few touches. He understood his players better than anyone else, and that is because he'd been there for 5-6 years. Now he's at Borussia Dortmund. That's a massive hit. But let's think about it. Under a new manager, who's 31 years old, by the way, a little bit younger than you, Thog Dad, as a manager in the Premier League, Fabian Hrzela, he spent 1 year, and that's interesting, only 1 year in the senior job as they call the trainer in Germany, which is manager at St. Pauli. It got them promoted. They're now in the Bundesliga. Now he's taken a move to Brighton. They've got in early. Tony Bloom, I'll congratulate you because you got in early. I'm sure you would have had to pay a lot more for this manager when he had that kind of world-class status. Brighton, it's exciting times because you've signed Mats Vijver from the Netherlands. I think he's a brilliant holding midfielder. From what I've watched of him in the Eredivisie, his touch and goes, his understanding with his teammates, brilliant. When you've got Mitoma now, Evan Ferguson or Danny Welbeck, whatever, I think Brighton could really unleash again. The motivation could be back.
Yeah, now they got rid of Dennis Undav as well. It didn't really work out with that. And they brought in Minter. Now, to me, sounds like a YouTuber. Is that Mini Minter? Or?
Well, very different, but they both have an obsession with scoring goals in big games. So let's see if Minter can do that too, because he's done it in pre-season for Brighton, Dad. Yeah. So clearly he's in Hrzela's plans. I'm sorry if I got the pronunciation wrong. And I think Brighton are going to be 10th. They could even push for European footy. It is a shot in the dark with this manager, but I am getting behind it.
Do you know what, Theo? Brighton have to be aiming for Europe every year with the setup they've got. But I agree with you, 10th place.
There we go. We agree for the first time.
Chelsea now, and where do we start with this one? They were 6th last season, Theo. They've now got 44 players on their books. Now think about this. That means they have 4 teams, which means that 3/4 of the players at any one time won't be in the 11 and therefore will be disappointed.
Do you know what's sad about all this? They've done the most business in the Premier League, yet their first 11 is barely changing.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, what is the tactic here? Is it just to sell it to Strasbourg in a year to balance the FFP books with Todd Bowley's crazy amount of business? You know, there's still talks of more signings. João Felix might come in, and that is actually someone who would get into the first 11. But where does he go in? Because they've got strikers, they've got Cole Palmer, they've got Nkunku. They've just signed Pedro Neto, which I actually think is good business.
Yeah.
There's so much competition. Where does João fit?
Do you know what, Theo? No, I'm going to answer that.
Okay.
If you buy João Felix, you build a team around him. He is potentially that good under the right manager in the right place, which might sound strange, but I believe in him.
Cole Palmer has the most potential of any England player right now ever. Build a team around him. If we're talking about João Felix going to Aston Villa, it's a different story. But this current Chelsea 11 is good enough. And by the way, the treatment of Conor Gallagher, to let him go to Atletico Madrid, get his picture with the shirt, send him, he's already doing house hunting. and then he gets a call, Chelsea want him back. You know, to treat a captain like that, it's embarrassing. You need to get your structure right in place. You need to know the players you want to sell, who you want to bring in. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, which I think in the future will be big for them. Tosin Adarabioyo, Pedro Neto should walk straight in. Will it all work? I don't know. But what I do know is Enzo Maresca will have a headache. His whoop is going to be going crazy. How you can look after that many players when they're travelling to Conference League and back to the Premier League, it's going to be carnage for him.
But Theo, a couple of positives about Chelsea. First of all, they've got the youngest squad in the league. They're thinking of the future. Secondly, they finished last season very
They're thinking of the future, but none of them are going to get a chance. I think they might go on a Conference League run, but they're going to finish 6th in the Premier League.
If they can get it right, they have some very good players.
Dad, get it right. I mean, right now, they're having constant fallouts.
I'm going to disagree with you, Theo. 4th place, Champions League football.
Big statement.
Over to London now, and Crystal Palace, who were 10th last season, and under Oliver Glasner, Theo, they were pretty good, weren't they?
First of all, they have the best home kit in the Premier League. I love it. It's a jungle design. Get it on the screen. Just do it. I think that is going to reap goals next year. They're going to have some fun, aren't they?
It is a lovely shirt, Theo, but Michael Elise heading out. That is massive.
I know. And he can't even speak French. I was watching his video walking around Bayern Munich for the first time. They're all asking him if you can speak French. He can't. He should be playing for the England team. Anyway, that is for a different video, because someone who is playing for the England team, and I think he'll have a great year at Palace, is Eberici Eze. They kept him.
They did, thank goodness. Now, Ismaila Sarr's coming. You remember him at Watford in the Premier League, Theo?
I do. No, but that is Premier League experience. He did well at Watford.
Yes.
He had some great moments. An amazing season in the Championship. Didn't work out in Marseille, but it's very difficult to make it work in the south of France there. I think that could be a genius signing, and not for much. I think it was maximum 15 million.
That could be a great piece of business. Daichi Kamada, talk to me about him.
I like that. Oliver Glasner played with him at Frankfurt. They won a Europa League together, which is the best triumph he's had. He's going to see Eze making a run. He'll play him through. By the way, Mateta had an amazing Olympics. He is now ready to go for Crystal Palace. It could be a good year. I think they'll finish. This is the question. Will they finish above their rivals, Brighton? No. One place below, 11th, which is still comfortable. But
do you know what, Theo? I'm going to shake your hand once again.
Whoa,
11th place. Everton Football Club were 15th last season, but without that points deduction, they were actually 12th. And there's one reason for that, according to me: Sean Dyche, one of the best managers in the league.
He's done an amazing job, Dad, and now Everton have gone from strength to strength over the summer. Unfortunately, Jared Branthwaite is injured, so he won't start the season. But we're talking about Premier League predictions here. We're talking about a season, okay? They've brought in Jake O'Brien from Lyon, the Irish centre-back, highly remarked, massive. He is, I mean, he'll beat anyone in a 50-50. He's going to win some duels. He will be representing at Goodison Park for its final days there. Then we've got Iliman and Dyer, had a great year for the Blades. Not Premier League proven, I would say. But if anyone's going to bring it out of him, it's Sean Dyche. Then Jesper Lindstrom, another Frankfurt boy, hard-working Danish midfielder. I think that's clever business. It's a replacement for Amadou Onana. They're going to save 30 million if he can do the same job.
Do you know what? Jake O'Brien is very, very smart. He's nearly 2 meters tall, as you said. He's going to learn from Michael Keane, isn't he, Theo? He's going to learn from Tarkovsky.
Dad, he once could have played basketball, but he decided on football, and now he's a professional.
Brilliant. So overall, you think they've done good business?
I do. I think they've done the right business. For me, Everton, if you look at their squad right now, they are not going to be in a relegation battle. When they move to the new stadium, they're going to have a bit of a buzz about them. They're going to finish 14th.
Do you know what? I think the squad is still weak. And if it wasn't Sean Dyche at the helm, I'd put them probably 16th, 17th. But because Dyche is there, 13th place.
It's a big year. Neil Maupai's going to be around the squad. DCL needs to get some goals.
He does. Back to London now for Fulham, who were 13th last season, Theo. But Palhinha's out of the door to Bayern Munich.
He is, and that's a massive cost, but it came with money. 50 million euros in the pocket. Marco Silva, what are you going to do with it, mate? Well, that is still to come, because he came out in an interview yesterday saying that there is more transfers, more business. And remember, Dad, Rodrigo Muniz, Andreas Pereira, they're all there. A year older, a year better. Emil Smith-Rowe behind him now. Interesting. I love that. He's already scored in pre-season, but if he can connect with his teammates, this Fulham team will be not just remaining as a Premier League club, but in that mid-table stretch, having exciting matches, making Craven Cottage rocking. It's going to be a fun year for them.
It is now. Emil Smith-Rowe, brilliant bit of business. Are you going to put him in your fantasy team?
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far. I want to see how Fulham do. You know, Adama Traore has been getting a lot of game time in pre-season. Could this be his redemption arc? Andreas Pereira, there's a lot of talk of him leaving. Tosin Adarabioyo did. But with a centre-back partnership of Diop and Calvin Bassey, I think that's solid enough to maintain the quality within this Fulham 11. I'm confident that under Marco Silva, they will be managed properly, invested properly, and remain a Premier League club, and comfortably too. 12th place.
Wow, that is quite confident. I've gone for 14th, Theo. They shouldn't be in a relegation
But they
fight.
drop off.
But if it starts badly, they could be. Ipswich Town now, one of the stories of the year in the Premier League, Theo. 2 promotions in 2 years. Kieran McKenna, brilliant manager. He could go on to do big things. But can they possibly survive?
Big question. Will they stay up or not? Ipswich Town, they've got the lowest squad value in the league. Is that correct?
They have.
But Bournemouth did when they also went back-to-back promotions, and they're still here today. So if we're banking on anyone, it's Kieran McKenna, the ex-Manchester United staff, the man who has been linked with the England job, linked with so many big jobs, Chelsea job at one stage, but he stayed at Ipswich Town. They've signed Omari Hutchinson on a permanent, and I tell you what, that man was incredible in the Championship, and he's looking for revenge on Chelsea and Arsenal, who never gave him the game time that maybe he once deserved. So, Dad, Ipswich, do you have any belief that they will survive? Will they come away with a decent amount of points for a fight, or are they going straight back down?
Well, it could be really bad, Theo. I mean, it depends upon these signings. I mean, Jacob Greaves from Hull. I don't know much about him, to be quite honest. Liam Delap, interesting, comes from Man City.
I like that.
73 million spent on 4 signings. They have to be more signings coming up. And it's guesswork, really, isn't it?
It looks like they're going to move from their pre-season, they're going to go from a 4 to a 3 back. And that allows players like Leif Davis at left wing back now to have more opportunity further up the field. And if you look at his stats in the Championship, 18 assists, 2 goals. That's 20 contributions. That's more than any other fullback in the whole of the second division. I'm sure if they didn't get promoted, someone in the Premier League would have bought him. Most exciting of them all, from Manchester City, it's Calvin Phillips. He's gone to Ipswich Town. And that is an opportunity for a redemption arc. Calvin, we know there's a player in you. Leeds United saw it. Make it happen in the Premier League. Keep them up. Now, in my early predictions, I put them 18th place, relegated. And I got roasted. A lot of Ipswich fans said, well, yeah, we think with our squad we probably do, but we've got a miracle manager. And that miracle worker has got into my head that the Ippy are staying up in the Premier League 24-25 season, 17th place. It's going down to the wire, but they're staying up. I'm telling you.
You are a nutty geezer if you think that Ipswich Town will stay up. That
serious?
is faith in McKenna, Theo.
Where have you got them then?
Theo, I'm sorry. I like the club. I can't see them winning 8, 9, 10 games. 20th. Rock bottom.
You mug! Bottom!
Leicester City won the Championship last year, Theo. They've got a captain who's 37 years old, goes by the name of Jamie Vardy.
I thought it goes by the name of Thog Dad, but...
Don't get that one. But have they done enough business there?
My real question is, if I've put Ipswich to survive, have I put the other 2 to go down? I mean, mathematically, somebody has to get relegated. And Leicester City lost their best player and their best manager. And if I'm going to sit here and say that Ipswich and Leicester are going to survive, Thog Dad would probably kick me out the gaff. I am not going to say Leicester survive. I'm going to put that out there. I'm not going to beat around the bush. They made 3 signings that I don't know much about. Adam Holozczek is about to come in through the door, not confirmed at the filming of this video, but the 22-year-old Hungarian from Bayer Leverkusen was a very exciting player, so he can come off the bench in the final game against Werder Bremen, and he's a 10 and a winger. He will add some contributions to them. Will it click in that Leicester's team? I don't know, but I'm not excited enough to put them in a survival spot. 19th place, but best of luck to the club and the manager. And look, if Holozczek can re-find his form like he did at Sparta Prague, I think they'll have a good year with him, and maybe he's the man, the magician, to keep them up. But I'm sorry, not for me.
Do you know what, Theo? Losing Dewsbury Hall, that shows a lack of ambition at the club, because he is a superb player. You brought in, what, D. Cordova-Reid from Fulham on a free? That's not enough, is it?
No. So where have you got him?
I have gone for 18th place. Liverpool now, Theo, 3rd last season, but Jurgen Klopp has gone, and it's the era of Arne Slot.
Yes.
What difference does that make?
Well, I think they're going to play similar football, and you can't replace Jurgen Klopp, ever, full stop. But if someone's going to come in with attacking style football who did the same, what Onslaught provided at Feyenoord was exciting football, attacking, won them the division. And I think if he can do the same at Liverpool, they will score a lot of goals with their very experienced 11. I am worried about the lack of youth in their setup in the next few years, but with the current squad, and they have maintained Mo Salah, they've kept him, he's not gone to Saudi Arabia, I think there's enough to comfortably finish in the top 4, and my position will come to you soon. The thing is with Liverpool, they've got the Bolton boys, Connor Bradley, Nat Phillips, both getting game time in the preseason. So I actually feel some affection towards this team, because I watched Connor Bradley at Bolton and Nat Phillips. I just want them to do well. If you look at the squad right now, they do miss a number 6. It's true. Zubimendi would have been perfect to come in and play that role. Someone's going to have to learn quickly. Maybe it's Gravenberch. Get him on an intensive course, because with the deal collapsing, and I know Real Sociedad badly wanted Zubimendi to stay. They couldn't lose Mikel Moreno and Zubimendi in one season. But Thogdad, where do they go from here? Is there more business to come? Because they're one of the only Premier League teams to still not make a signing.
Well, the great bit of business they've done is keeping Mo Salah for the moment. That is enormous.
Yeah.
And my view on Liverpool, they are one of the 2 best home sides in the league. At Anfield, with that incredible front line, Theo, they are almost unbeatable.
Andy Robertson has now come back from injury. They don't have many more injuries, which is important to note. Dominic Szoboszlai, I want to see him get up there more, score more goals, just be exciting, all right? We almost forget players like Diogo Jota, who are dependent on what Onslaught wants to do.
Yes.
Could he be the man next to Mo Salah, or will it be Darwin Núñez? Who will it be? And I think they'll finish 3rd place, but it's something to build on for future years. I don't know, they could surprise a few people. They will be attacking. It will be exciting going to Liverpool games next year for all you fans that want to experience enjoyable football, because that's what Onslaught provides. So good luck. 3rd place for me.
3rd place. And now for the champions, Manchester City, Theo.
Here we go.
Julian Alvarez. Let's talk about him first, because he's gone. That's
gone.
surprising. He's
Atletico
a good player.
Madrid. You know, when I watched some of the best goals from Man City last year, and the screamers Alvarez would score, even off the bench, even next to Haaland, maybe Pep thinks that, yeah, we've got Erling, but next to him, they need something else.
Yeah.
They don't have that anymore. Where do they go from here? I know they've signed Savio, but
Yes.
he's more of a winger. He's more of a creator for Erling. Who is that second-hand finisher? Are they going to push Kevin De Bruyne a little bit further up the pitch to be more involved and get on the end of things? I don't know what the tactic is this year. What I do know is they've already got a trophy, a community shield. They've already got that winning mentality in their head. Erling Haaland's rested, of course, because he doesn't play in the Euros. This is a squad that is simply better than the rest. You've got Rodri having fun. You've got Haaland, Bernardo Silva. When they're together, they simply click. And I'm excited to see what Savio can do. I think this year they'll go far in the Champions League and win the Premier League 1st place. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying that with so much excitement, because at this point, the only thing that will stop them is a points deduction.
There are 2 things that could go wrong with Manchester City, Theo. One of them is in the back office. What is it, 114 financial fair play charges? That could go wrong. The other thing, Theo, is if Erling Haaland gets injured, because like you've said, Savinho's a right winger.
Yeah.
There's no backup at the moment. Now that Alvarez is gone.
Pep, this is his final year. He said he's got to go out with a bang. Premier League, Champions League, doesn't he?
There are 4 reasons why Manchester City will win the Premier League this season. Pep Guardiola,
De Bruyne,
Rodri, De Bruyne, and Haaland.
Done.
Those
Done.
4. And the main one there is Pep Guardiola, who is possibly the best manager of all time.
But having said all that, and all those 4 outlets, Arsenal only ended 2 points behind it last year.
Which is astonishing.
It's astonishing how good they were. But I think if there's a 5-point deduction, the title race could be very interesting.
Manchester United were 8th last season. Out go Mason Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka and Varane and Anthony Martial. Who's coming the other way, Theo?
The players coming in, of course, you've got Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna. He had a good year, but hasn't featured just yet. Very recently, we've seen Matthias de Ligt, a centre-back who was playing in a Champions League semi-final.
Let us talk more about him.
Yeah, because he's amazing. Ajax did great. Bayern, they really liked him. You know, he comes at a price tag of 45 million, but what a player.
He's 25 years old, Theo, and for the last 10 years ago, he was regarded as one of the best players in the world. His price tag, Theo, is going down and down and down.
Well, he's getting older.
He's 25. He's 25, Theo. He was a centre-back.
Yeah, he's got loads of time, actually. This could be a great move. No more Amrabat. Of course, they didn't sign him on after the loan deal. It makes sense. Overall, they're focusing on the quality and what worked last season. Alejandro Garnacho's already got off to a fiery start. They held Man City out to penalties in the Community Shield, so clearly they can maintain the best of the best. Amad Diallo's got a big year coming up. Bruno Fernandes will be as good as he ever is. I actually think they'll be comfortably 5th. They might go on a Europa League run, which of course they qualified for winning the Cup.
And I'm going to give them a +2. They're going to be 6th. Over to the northeast now for Newcastle, who was 7th last season. Brilliant manager in Eddie Howe. They've not done a lot of transfer business, have they?
No, they haven't. And the last time we did early predictions, I was banking on them doing business. I put them 4th. And a lot of people roasting me about putting all the other big teams below. Now I sit here and I think, wow, they really are going to play without Botman. They're going to play without having Callum Wilson at the start of the season. Of course, he comes back pretty soon. They haven't got a centre-back in that expected. No Madueke yet. Of course, Eddie Howe's still there. Anthony Gordon, that's good. But I'm not sure about Newcastle. I know they had Champions League football last year. Now they've got 0 European distraction. Will they go back to 4th place? I think it's going to be very close between Manchester United, Chelsea, and Newcastle next year. And I can't put those 3 in any order. But you already know where I put Man United and Chelsea, and I'm very sorry, Newcastle fans. I have dropped you down to 7th because I thought you'd make one big signing by now. And the sad thing is, we're filming this now because the season starts tomorrow. If they go buy Mark Guehi or they go buy a big centre-back, my prediction would change.
Yeah, now Elliot Anderson leaving to Nottingham Forest, a little bit of surprise to me, 41 million euros in the bank. So good money. Tonali comes back there. We've forgotten about him. He's back in 2 weeks. That is like a signing. But having said all that, Theo, I'm going to agree with you. 7th place.
We're agreeing a lot.
We are. Nottingham Forest was 17th last season, and there's been a flurry of transfer activity. What a change. Elliot Anderson from Newcastle, that's a good one. Do they survive?
Will they be in a talk of a relegation battle? Nuno Santo needs to prevent that. How does he do it? Well, let's remember that a lot of their team, their 11 that was last season, it's staying very similar. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White, a year older, only getting better. That's an FPL shout for you. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Alanga. I'm confident that a year later they're only going to improve. These are young lads with high ceilings from big clubs, and Nottingham Forest have banked on them. And I think if they click into gear, there should be no talk of relegation. At home, they'll have top form. I'm putting them 15th place, Dad.
Do you know what? I think the places from 12th to about 17th are the hardest to predict in this league.
Yeah.
Because you've got teams like Fulham and Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest and Wolves who are unpredictable.
A few of them with a lot of cash to spend, and there's going to be a lot more business in the next 8-9 days.
Yes, that is true. I'm going to go 16th. I think they could be in a relegation scrap, but they will survive. Southampton of the South Coast were promoted through the playoffs. They beat Leeds United, didn't they, Theo? You were at that game. And they've gone out and they've splashed the cash, haven't they?
They have splashed the cash. They sold Che Adams and they bought Ben Brereton Diaz, which is like for like. I mean, of course, I think Che Adams is almost a little bit better, got a bit more Premier experience, but they've lost him. And you get promoted. And I know Adam Armstrong, he's got a goal in pre-season, and I just don't know where they go with this, right? The pre-season's been pretty low scoring and unappealing. They had a scrap with Lazio at home. That was a pretty heated game. What do you think under Russell Martin? I've already kept one of the championship promoted teams to survive. Is there enough in that squad?
Well, I'm not sure. The likes of Brereton Diaz from Villarreal, Theo. This is a lad who's done very well for Chile. He's done very well in the championship. He's never really done it at the top level of football, has he?
He scored in pre-season. Let's give him a chance.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm worried that they're actually preparing for life in championship without overspending. I think they're going 20th.
Do you know what? They've spent about 60 million euros on 5 players, but when I look at who they brought in, I don't think it's enough, Theo. I'm sorry, Southampton. 19th place. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club of London were 5th last season, and now they've got Dominic Solanke, who was brilliant last season, 19 goals. Can he get more than that this season?
This is it. I mean, when we last did our early predictions, I put Tottenham very low down because they didn't have that striker replacement yet. They got the business done. It came at a cost, but they did it, Dad. And Archie Gray is only going to get better. They've made 3 key signings in my mind, all that will contribute to the first team squad and clearly under Ange's system. I'm sure the squad is going to be very positive, a lot more than last year. They missed out on top 4, I think only by 2 points. And they're a lot stronger as a squad. And if James Maddison can have a big year as well, that's the player for me. He didn't make the England squad last year. In his mind, he thought he should have. Now it's time to really prove that he should never be dropped from an England squad ever again. Get in that 10 role, smash it at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and enjoy yourself. Have some fun.
Archie Gray's an interesting one. Leeds are selling everyone, aren't they?
I know, yeah.
He's 18 years old. He's the grandson of Frank Gray, who was a legend in my day.
This is Ange's opportunity to shock everybody. I'm going to put them in a Champions League spot. 4th place, Dad. A big jump up from my early predictions. I've looked at the squad and I've judged.
Some real talent in there, but I think they'll just miss out on top 4.
Really?
I'm going to go 5th again. Ooh. Staying in London for West Ham United, who were 9th last season, Theo. Now, I've looked at their squad.
Wow.
They've now got 3 strikers in their 30s. Fulkrug, Ings and Antonio.
Yeah, but Fulkrug was in the Champions League final. He should have scored in that game.
Yeah, he should.
But what a player to have. My God, I mean, they don't have European football. How have they convinced these players? Well, I know, here comes the money. But seriously, though, you know, David Moyes is out the door. Lopetegui is in. This is a manager who made Wolves finish 13th. Previously to that, he won the Europa League with Sevilla. Previously to that, he was managing Real Madrid, Dad.
Yeah. I
mean, if anyone's going to come in with a statement at the London Stadium, it's him. And he has, with his business. We mentioned the German striker, but you haven't talked about Somerville, which Leeds fans rave about.
Yeah.
Max Kilman. The Spider, AWB. You've got one of the best defensive-minded right-backs in the world, if not the best. You've got Max Kilman, one of England's best centre-back prodigies. The boy was literally playing futsal for England before he decided to go to non-league, and now he's at the top of the game. Honestly, that man is a great signing. I'm interested to see what West Ham can do this year, but When you buy a lot of players, it doesn't always click.
And also Aaron Wan-Bissaka, that's a name we know from Manchester United. He's come in, but it remains the oldest squad in the league. Is that a little bit of a worry?
Well, they want success and they want it now, don't they? They want some more trophies. I'm going to put them 8th. It's still an improvement from last year. The signings need to gel. This could be completely wrong, but if you look at the 7 teams that I got above them, they've got big squads, big budgets, and top players all around the pitch, so it's hard to judge.
This is a year of transition for West Ham. 9th place. And finally, Wolverhampton Wanderers of the Midlands, who were 14th last season, Theo. Pedro Neto out. Max Kilman out. What's going on here?
I'm worried. They made a lot of money for that, and I think they still need to do some investment, because when I look at the best 11 right now, I don't think it's even good enough to survive the Premier League. If I was a Wolves fan, I'd be absolutely raving all over the internet about how bad Fossen and Jeff Shea are running that football club.
Wow.
Where is the money going? That they're selling their best players off. And by the way, when you sell your best players off, you lose people that are important in the dressing room, in a team hierarchy. You lose quality on the pitch. And even if you spend the money to rebuy a player, you don't know they're going to be as good. They're going to gel with the teammates. I can only bank on a great manager in Gary O'Neill. I love him, what he did for Bolton as well as a player just a few years ago. I looked at pre-season. They went from beating Leipzig 3-0 to losing 1-0 to Rayo Vallecano. Hard to predict. Do I think they can survive? Yes. I think they go 18th. I think Ipswich create momentum and somehow outperform them.
You think Wolverhampton Wanderers are going to be relegated?
I have a bad feeling.
Do you know what? I am worried for Wolves. I know the fans are worried, but I think somehow they'll just survive 15th.
Will we get 20,000 likes? Let me know in the comments who is winning this league. Is it Arsenal, City? Could it be Chelsea? Could it be Tottenham? Who knows? And let us know in the comments about relegation. Give us your video, guys, and join the FPL League. If you win the FPL League, I'm going to buy you 1,000 Mars bars.
Except you're not.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the Prem.